So let's kick off with our AI ahas. Bridget, how have you been using AI since we last spoke?
I'm now at the point where I'm always having trouble, like, to decide what might be people would be interested in, because I have to say it's so integrated into just about everything I do. Like, there it's in all of my, personal and professional workflows now. Um, but I was getting a workshop this week. As you know, I do a lot of presentations. I prefer to do them with you, but I do a lot of presentations about AI in dispute resolution and AI in the legal profession and change management around legacy legal organizations who are trying to stare down this disruption. But it's usually presentations, and I have lots to talk about, and I hope it's useful. But this audience, which was a very diverse audience, it was lawyers, arbitrators, academics, um, and an international audience. So really, super interesting, large, and the organizers of the conference really put a lot of thought into the whole day. But in ours, my session was the final session, and they wanted it to not be a presentation, not a like, we tell you what you need to know. They wanted us to do a workshop, and you're good at that. I had a good idea, I think. I mean, my idea was like people are at all different phases. Let's figure out where they are in the room along the sort of transformation journey, and then let's build an AI maturity model. And like, what are the sort of different stages? And as you know, like, I've thought a lot about this at the AAA, from experimentation to point solutions to integration and workflows to full transformation. And then for each of those stages, what are the use cases? What are the enablers? What are the risks and barrier risks you're going to worry about? The barriers that are going to make it hard to get to the next stage, and then what's the sign that you'll be ready for the next stage? So I really liked the idea for the workshop, but was very worried about how to do it in a room full of a really diverse group of people, and a large group, like 250 or 300 people. So like felt like a big challenge. Oh, and also 60 minutes. So start to finish, like
Oh
60
my
minutes.
gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, and I started to get all stressed out about it, and then I was like, "Well, wait a minute. I have a friend who can help me, like, figure out, like, the best, workflows and how to, make sure I could make it truly interactive instead of, you know, ending up making it just a presentation about a that looks like a workshop." And I and it was just a very iterative process, and I kept saying, like, "No, I don't think that's gonna work because of the diversity in the room." It would give me a set of suggestions. And then I said, maybe here's another problem. We're sitting in round tables, and I can't get people to move the different quadrants, right? Like, it was literally like from the tech support. Oh, and by the way, they wanted an AI recording of the whole thing that would produce something substantive at the end. We were trying to produce like a takeaway for, that people could actually take back with them. And I honestly don't know if I got so many good ideas, and a lot of, like, mediocre ideas and some bad ideas, like you always do, like you would from a human who was like, "Let's do this together, and, like, let's just, like, throw all the ideas out there." And it really gave me, like, the confidence that I could make what felt like a big challenge work, and I do think it went really well, and we actually got through the entire matrix, and we had a final product. And I was doing it with the amazing Stacy Guillaume, who and she is fantastic. And we were like typing it in real time on the big screen as we were like getting involvement from the whole room. And I really feel like without the partnership of my ChatGPT coach, mentor, ideator, etc., I'm not sure it would have been as successful. So I'll share it with you. It might be an interesting one for some of the engagements that I know. I know everybody wants your help for figuring this out, and I think this actually was a pretty decent workshop.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. And as somebody who does workshops all the time and then before that taught classes that were really experiential, I think it is the best for helping you design activities for different groups and coming up with like even just the timing. I mean, it will automatically sort of like suggest timing for you to get through something like that in the allotted hour or whatever you have. So that's awesome. Congratulations. I also feel like it's like such a confidence booster. I might have told you this, but I was meeting with somebody about another project, and like there was one part of it where neither of us has expertise in this area. And I was just sort of like I'm not worried about it. Like, I know that we'll figure this out, and part of it will be, like, using AI to help us identify the right person to figure it out. And the person just said to me, they're like, "God, you have totally changed because 5 years ago, you would have been so afraid of this project." And I said, "That's really interesting." I think it's true. Like, it just feels like things are figure outable.
Yeah. When you have this, like, extra help all the time, right? Yeah. It's support. Yeah. Alright, what about you? What's your AI aha for this week?
So I'm like you, I went into my ChatGPT history from the last 2 weeks because I use it so much. I'm like, I can't even figure and they're all over the map. Like, it's starting to look like a little weird and creepy how many different odd things I ask it about. So I'll share a professional professional prompt that I asked. I'm just working on a project right now, and we're pursuing funding, in the nonprofit space, so foundational funding, which is something I've not had a lot of experience with. So I use deep research for 2 different prompts. And for people listening who don't know deep research, it's a product, actually Google and OpenAI both have the same product name. But it's essentially like having a really skilled research assistant who does really deep dives on the internet and produces a research brief with citations. And I asked it for recommendations for different foundations that might be interested in the topics that we're exploring and, why they'd be interested in like deep research does. It asked a couple follow-up questions, which helped me refine the search. And it produced this great dossier of like different options and why it thought one over the other might be good for this given project. And then as we were sort of moving forward, I wanted to explore and be prepared for the question of like what makes this project different or what else out there is like it. So I did a separate deep research on that. And that was also really interesting because it surfaced a few projects that were really similar, but then it also did the next step, which is here's why your proposal is different and here's how to sort of like talk about it in that way. Um, and I think deep research, I was listening to our other, AI podcast guys, Paul Raitzer and Mike, but today they were talking about some of the limitations on deep research for verifiability and fact checking and those kinds of things. But I think this was a great example of a place where I didn't need 100% accuracy. I really just needed to get a sense of the lay of the land. I wasn't as concerned about the underlying sources being, particular sources. It was just something I would not otherwise have the time to do myself and would make me feel better prepared for conversations about it. So I would say that was my AI aha and learning when to use deep research and when I need more sort of rigorous fact checking and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I still use deep research quite a bit. It's sometimes just when it's a like a starting point for me on a brand new topic, and then I can like nail down what I actually want to learn more about. I'm not yet great about knowing when 4.0 is good enough or when I need a reasoning model, and I feel like that might be something I ask ChatGPT to teach me in one of my drives. I do that sometimes. You do this too, right? Like I use voice mode and say I'm trying to learn about X, and then just ask it questions, and it can, just go back and forth, and it's so patient. I might ask it if it can teach me about that a little bit. Although, aren't we one of these days going to get a model that's just going to do it for us and figure it out?
Yeah. Yes. And then I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We're just gonna hang out. A shout out to another one of our friends, Ed Sohn. It recommended to me yesterday. We were talking about the more that we use, ChatGPT in particular, but any of the big frontier models, and the more they remember about us, the more that memory gets infused into future prompts unless you turn it off and turn it back on, depending on whether you have it on. And I was saying that I think I once used it to prompt something for my husband and his job, and then I was worried that, like, it's forever gonna think that I do what he does or I'm interested in that. And Ed suggested running a memory audit and asking ChatGPT to share everything it knows about you and then tell it to forget, like, certain things, which I'm gonna try and do before our next recording because I think it's a good idea.
It's really a great idea. Because another thing, I know you do this as well. Sometimes in preparing for a presentation, I will do a prompt to be able to, screenshot what the chatbot's doing in response to the prompt, but it's a prompt for a particular audience and what they might use it for, right? It's not necessarily relevant to me. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I love that idea.
Yeah, or, like, I think I've shared this example before. I was, briefly 2 years ago interested in this job posting, and I think shared it with ChatGPT and asked it about it, and I've since forgotten that I even saw it or asked it, but it constantly sort of brings it up.
You're like, "Leave me alone,
And
I'm
I do
good. My business is going great." Yeah.
exactly, exactly. No, I'm good now. I appreciate that, but I would like it to forget that. And Ed was saying it's sort of like, when you date somebody who's really attentive the first month you date and they, like, never evolve in their understanding of you, and they just keep bringing up things that you brought up on your first date. Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.